This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi everybody, welcome to episode 28, and today we're looking at the question, how can I have more focus? It's something that's come up in a few calls I've had recently, and I think it's so fascinating, this whole area of focus, because looking at it takes us directly to what the conscious mind really is, what the object of focus really is, what dictates where attention goes. So it's really looking at focus as a portal to looking at the entire human experience. So it's absolutely fascinating. So what we can consider is that focus is pure attention, isn't it? And there's different, we might use the word flow, or Deepak Chopra's using the gap, or deep presence, immersion, immersive work. So focus is really the fullness of attention given to something. So there's an object with focus. So what's happening is that conscious space, which is, we can consider the conscious mind as a spotlight. Everything's dark. And then the conscious mind is this spotlight that illuminates a certain sliver of the world. And what is illuminated appears in consciousness. So it becomes the experience of being alive, of existing in that moment, isn't it? So whatever is within that conscious sphere is part of the experience of being in that moment. Everything that is outside of that sphere actually doesn't exist in that moment, really. There's no knowing of it. There's no awareness of it. It's outside of the realm of consciousness. It doesn't exist for that being. And so that conscious space is the interaction between the intelligence that is animating the perception and the object. So all of these areas are so interesting for us. So let's start with what controls where that attention goes. And actually, we can't separate that out from the object of attention, because they are the same thing, really, as we'll come to see through this. So if we consider the conscious mind as the spotlight, illuminating a certain thing or a certain situation, what controls where that spotlight goes? What we can consider is that what controls the orientation of attention is the subconscious foundational understanding of what is important, what is interesting, what is worth considering, what is needed to know, what is entertaining, what is distracting. And so this foundation, this subconscious foundation, which dictates attention, dictates behavior as a result of that attention, that foundation is a spectrum from an overwhelming desperation to secure the survival of me, to control the experience of being, to vigilantly resist or seek whatever it is that is going to make me feel okay, make me feel worthy or valid or loved or give me whatever it is I think I need. So at one end of the spectrum, everything is being dictated by survival, and not survival of the physical, because it's very rare, really rare, that any of us are in physical, absolute physical survival threat. And it is incredibly common that all of us, in different situations, different circumstances, for different reasons, experience identity survival threat. This concept of me and this belief system of what I think I need, what I think I must push away and avoid in order to be okay. It's why the fear of public speaking is higher than death. Because the fear of that humiliation, of messing up in public, of being exposed, of not getting something right, is enormous. And that's entirely identity threat. It's so common, and it's a product of a belief system that is operating on the basis of I am a separate individual in an objectively separate world, and I have to secure myself. I have to find stability, security for that identity within this world. So when that survival motivation is operating, all attention, so all focus, is going to be on whatever looks necessary for survival, or whatever has to be resisted in order to survive. So there's a desperation of seeking and of resistance. And so the focus, like an animal, really, the everything, all resources directed towards securing the survival of that individual identity. And what's really interesting here is that the focus, which has, contains all the resources, draws in everything. It feels like life or death. So everything gets thrown into this. But the focus it's not on anything real. The focus is on the mirror of that insecure identity. So we can really see from that subconscious platform of survival of me, that the focus is on either desperately bringing in or desperately avoiding the objects, the people, the situations, but they're not real. And this is what's so interesting about focus for us. They're not real. But the more greater the focus, the more real they look. And so, for example, in the midst of my public speaking phobia, I'll never dismiss anyone's phobia, because I really get how debilitating it is, how desperate we are to feel okay, for to be, to feel confident or to end this fear. And so if I was asked to give a presentation in work, say, the threat of that was like a earthquake through the whole body, was absolutely debilitating. So the focus, from that platform of terror and shame and devastating insecurity, the focus was on whatever could be done to avoid that death, really. So massive amounts of strategizing and planning and manipulation to avoid these situations, to do anything to avoid speaking in public, or anything that would somehow try to control this emotional turmoil. But the focus, the object of the focus isn't real, because nothing in that world is real when the platform of operation is so deluded, is so distorted. So we can see how the object and the intention behind the focus are the same thing, really. And so really, the main message over and over and over again from this exploration is that level of stress, that absolute crunch of identification and separation, and the mind's obsession with me, all of that, the stress, the tension, the whole body disruption is saying right now, the platform of operation, the attention, and the object are all caught up in total confusion. And it's what I find so interesting, because all of us with these unique minds, these incredible minds, what liberates the mind from that absolute chaos, which is only creating more and more chaos, what liberates it from that to a place where focus, the attention, is actually on reality. And what liberates it is a shift of that foundational understanding to truth. Because in public speaking, there was no survival threat whatsoever. Zero survival threat for me. I could really mess up. I did, but I'm not literally dying. The image of me, my own mental image of me, was taking an enormous bashing. So what? Really? So what? Because still the body is intact. And so the shift of the platform of understanding of what we are means that the reality correspondingly will become more and more clear, more and more what is actually going on. And this sphere of attention, this conscious mind, shifting out of that realm of identification and belief to just this empty, neutral, observational space in which reality is just appearing, and there is constant information about the next step, or if a problem gets posed within that system, the information is there and available. And that's a mind that is now operating in reality. The foundation that dictates where the attention goes is now orientating, and I think this is really interesting, around very specific questions. And the two questions that I really like, which I think really help with understanding focus and flow and intelligence, are: what do I want here? What's really wanted? And what is the problem? What specifically is the problem that we want to solve? Because when we ask those questions, the due diligence really around the questions is asking, what is it solvable? So in the midst of the public speaking, just chaos, what is really wanted here? What was wanted was peace, wasn't it? What was wanted was assurance that I wouldn't humiliate myself. What was wanted was the ability really to control what other people thought of me. The ability, what was wanted was to look amazing and impress everybody and be someone, earn respect and admiration. Impossible, literally impossible, and completely unrelated to what was actually going on, which was a presentation being delivered. So that entire focus on me. We're so narcissistic in our depths of our insecurity. It can't be any other way, but it's obsession with the me, no focus, no attention whatsoever on the presentation or on the audience and what they need to know. Nothing. So what was really wanted there in that presentation was impossible to achieve. So that's the due diligence. And that says, okay, no amount of focus, no amount of attention, no amount of action is going to deliver that. That's just something that has to be acknowledged, recognized, seen for what it is, and eventually integrated. It does become an asset, really, ultimately, that understanding of what's going on with that. And so the questioning of the what do I want and what's the problem here, really what are we trying to do here, making that so specific, so clear, so pinned down, the mind really being dragged away from the impossible, from the made up, from the catastrophic desperation to secure what doesn't even exist in the first place, through to actual reality and actual problems and actual things that can be achieved and done and created and brought about. And now focus is liberated because the foundational platform that directs that focus is aligned to truth. It's clear. It's in the realm of the possible and the achievable. And so now the focus is on the information or on the audience or on the data, on the project, on the strategy. And the only outcome can be in relation to that. None of it can be in relation to this me that previously was doing everything it could to survive within these things. Now it's just the project. It's just the tax return. It's just the conversation about what's going to happen next week. That's all it is. And that's focus now, because the director of the attention and the object of the attention are in line with reality, with what is possible. And that is bliss for the mind. That is the powerful, superhuman mind set free, liberated to exist and to function within the small stuff, really. And the small stuff can get really big because it's only reality. It's not ever about an unachievable goal. It's just what's going on right now. And that those moments of attention where it's not diverted via this me obsession, it's just pure attention from the subconscious through to whatever is the work or the situation or the person. It's flow, it's liberation, it's sanity. It's home, really. It's everything that we're trying to achieve through that obsession with self, which never can be achieved because that self, that separate entity, that believed individual that is a construct of all those unquestioned beliefs about what I am, that can never be secured or stabilized. And so what we can see is an exploration of focus, of attention, of where the mind can go and where it comes from is liberation ultimately. Yeah, so thank you everyone. Lots of love to you. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.